Oh, I see what you're
Because
saying.
you've got
Yeah.
Russia and Ukraine. That may fizzle out. Then you've got Palestine and Israel. That could end up coming to an end. All this stuff going on coming to an end, and
Well,
then
like we've talked
big
about
boys
before,
get involved.
the war that ends up because the sixth trumpet is the end of the war. It's not going that when a third part of men die,
Mm-hmm.
the war is not going to be going on anymore.
No.
That's going to end. That's going to end the war.
The war of
And
all wars.
so it could be a war
Yeah.
that's going on for years, and it's only the end of it, which it looks like it's probably going to be a nuclear exchange.
Yeah.
But the four angels in the river Euphrates are released to slay the third part of man. When that happens, it's going to end the war. So it could be a series of wars. It could be a building of forces, and a war that goes on for a long time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah. So, because I was thinking this morning when I was watching the news, I started thinking, it's not necessarily one big drawn out war. It could be two nations against each other. They fizzle out. Two nations against each other over here. They fizzle out. Another two countries start fighting.
Oh, you remember Jesus told us there'd be wars and rumors of wars.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the signs that would herald his coming.
Right.
Wars and rumors of wars. And so there could be a series of wars. There could be, World War III doesn't even necessarily have to be the sixth trumpet, but it just makes sense. If there's World War III, that's going to be devastating to the world. So I can't imagine anything other than it being the sixth trumpet. But it doesn't have to be. I'm just saying. It just makes logical sense that it is.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, because look what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. It's like everyone's forgotten about them.
Yeah, I know. It seems like that. Isn't it? Doesn't seem
nobody's
like that.
Talking about it anymore.
Anyway, so we've been.
Zelensky's talking about it, of course.
Oh yeah, because he's like this. Help.
Help! Give me more money.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have been live for 2 minutes, and I just want to say hello and hi Jay and hi Jody. Well,
hello, brother and sister.
Yeah. Hope everybody's doing okay, having a great weekend. It's starting to cool down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's normal for this time of year, it'll warm up again.
I had a memory.
Yeah.
What's today? I had a memory from either today or yesterday that said that I swam for 2 days in a row. That was when I had a friend come visit me.
Yeah, I saw a memory come up where we were actually in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
This time of year.
What?
Yes.
Because
memory.
The water in the pool was warm enough until it gets real cold.
We usually put a cover on our pool to keep it kind of warm, to kind of carry us through into October swimming, but we just decided not to do that today this year. So anyway, so I hope everybody's having a great weekend. I had a little story to tell. I want to tell it now. I know we have a lot to get into. Well, first, let me just say, if you're, kindly smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, and share the video with your friends. Go to Rumble, start an account, because we're going to be closing this one down at some point. Not us, they.
YouTube will ban us eventually.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Maybe after tonight.
After tonight.
Because we're going to be talking about some stuff.
Yeah, so, but then we can do the little things. You can even do
But Trump puts his stuff on YouTube, and they haven't shut him down.
Well, they shut him off of X, but now he has his own thing. Yeah, well, he's pretty bold.
Well, I'm just going to say Google.
No, go ahead.
Google is one of the worst for censorship, and Google has purchased YouTube. YouTube was bad enough before. I imagine it's going to be even worse now. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was going to tell you a little story. It doesn't have anything to do with war or anything, but so we have. I'll make it a quick story, but it was kind of weird. So we have like a whiteboard, and you have to use the little markers, that'll wash them.
Erasable markers.
Erasable markers. And it's in our, I thought you were frozen. Anyway, so it's out on our game room or whatever you want to call it. Well, I never write anything on it. I don't even know why we have it. I'm not writing it. I used to use it for like the grocery thing.
We used to have the grocery list.
We used to write on it almost every day when it was in the kitchen. Well, now it's in a room that we're hardly ever in, really. So I was doing laundry. This was a couple days ago on Tuesday. It was Tuesday. And it was around 1 p.m. I was like, I'm going to start writing scripture verses on there. Just, just for me, if I were, And so I wrote the Philippians 4:13. And then Alex came over for dinner. Did he come for dinner? Yeah, he came for dinner.
Oh, no, he came and we played some card games and stuff.
Yeah, but he came to eat. Was it on, when was it? Tuesday? Yeah. Last Tuesday?
Something like that.
Okay, well, anyway, it was on the same day, whenever day it was. And so he's writing a book. He's writing his next book. And he's like, I got to read you, everything that I've written so far. And all of a sudden, he quotes this scripture verse that he's putting in his book. And when he got up to come in the kitchen, I said, Alex, that's the scripture verse I have on the whiteboard. He said, what? He said, what time did you write it? And it was actually 3 hours
the same day
after. It was the same day. Yeah. I wrote it he wrote it in his book 3 hours after I wrote.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
I haven't written on that whiteboard in years, 8 years. And then all of a sudden I put a scripture verse on there, and it just happened to be the one that he had written in his book. So that's Philippians 4:13 was a verse.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people who know
I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like, what? Mommy, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to tell that little story. Yeah.
So we're going to get into it because I've got, there's just so much news these days that I really have to try to keep it shorter and try to pick and choose some of the stuff I show. Because and really what I try to do is keep it to prophetically significant news. Because that's what we're about here. We're about God. We're about prophecy unfolding, and that's what we're discussing. And so when there's a lot of things I could talk about that I'm not going to, but I strongly encourage everyone to go and research news. Don't watch the mainstream news. Don't watch mainstream media, or if you do, just do it to see what the liars are saying. See what the other side is saying if you want to. But make sure you go and read some alt news and find news channels that you can see that will actually give you just unbiased news and just tell you what's going on instead of giving you their opinions and their biases. But so we're going to talk about a few things today. One of them is, recently we've been talking about the illegal immigration and the people coming across. And this is just one that came from this week. Here comes your new neighbors. This is in Arizona. And this is just one day in this particular part of Arizona and this is actually a group that came from Syria. And it's, there's a lot of these people. And if you notice, if you see, do you see any women and children in there? I mean, these are, turban wearing Muslim men that are coming from Syria. And it's just, I'm showing you this just as another, this is week by week, we have new news. And this is the kind of thing that we're seeing come across our border. This is just one day at this particular place in Arizona. And there's groups from all different parts of the world. These are not people that are coming from destitute, poor, starving to death places that are escaping some form of tyranny. These are people that are infiltrating our country for a specific purpose. And I just show you this because it's a video, but I'm not gonna play the video for you. It goes and it pans around. There's to the right of this. There's other buildings, and you can see many more. But this is a large group of Syrians that are waiting to be processed into the United States. So I thought that would be interesting to see. And then, the news this week and the whole last week, obviously, is the Hamas invasion of Israel. And this is one of the things that we see from Islam. They vow to annihilate all Jews.
Yeah.
And this is part of Islamic doctrine.
But they're not hiding that. There's these speeches on CNN.
Yeah, they're not hiding. They're not trying to hide it.
No, they're not hiding.
What's amazing is that people still support Hamas when they know that their goal is to just kill all the Jews. What was Hamas's goal in going in and slaughtering thousands of Jews?
To kill them all,
kidnapping them. Yeah, their goal is to kill them. Yes. It's not.
Yeah, I saw this stuff on the news, and I'm thinking, if everyone had left Gaza, they just totally left the city way in advance, and the Palestinians got there, and there's like nobody there. They're not going to bomb the place because it's not the buildings they want; it's the people.
Well, what Israel's doing is going in to take out the enemy. They don't want to kill innocent civilians.
Right.
They're going after the Hamas militants that came in and killed and slaughtered and kidnapped, and that's what they're going in for. And they're even setting up safe zones for civilians because Hamas is not allowing the civilians to evacuate.
No.
They're putting up roadblocks. They're telling them to stay where they're at, and they won't even let them leave Palestine, which Israel is telling them to leave because they're coming in to take out Hamas. So Israel's actually setting up safe zones and things like that so that the citizens still have somewhere to go where they can be safe. But it's going to be a very, they haven't gone in yet that I know of, but it's going to be a very, very, it's going to be horrific them going in. And there's, Hamas is going to be leaving booby traps. They're going to be leaving mass explosives to trap the Jews in buildings and then blow up the building. They're going to be doing all kinds of things like that. They're going to be using human shields, which is why they won't let anyone leave. They want to cry about how Israel's coming in and killing these innocent civilians. Well, they're purposely making them stay so that they can cry about it when it happens. This is the way they have always operated, and it's nothing new.
Okay, so Paul said, by the way, hello. Interesting how
hello.
By the way, hello, Paul and Johanna. Okay, he said interesting how the most, I think what he was supposed to say, how the most prepared military wasn't prepared.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing that I'm going to bring up is there's a few different articles I read about that, and what Hamas did, and really this was all backed by Iran and even China, and it was a very thought out, very well planned and well executed invasion. And what they did is they found holes in intelligence, right? Because intelligence is based so much on electronic intelligence now that what they did is they went back to the olden days where they used couriers and sent messages on paper. Yeah. And they did not use phones. They didn't use the internet. And so they went completely unobserved, and at the same time they were exposing their training camps and exposing things as if it was just the normal stuff that they were doing and not specific training for any, incursion. And then also flooding the social media and the airwaves and the internet with false flag information about how they were just not prepared for any kind of conflict. So they're hunkering down, and they're getting other things taken care of. And they put out this whole false narrative, and then they secretly, used couriers and only printed paper to set up all of this. And it was just very, very well, that's the thing, is we have to remember that these are people, there's some very intelligent people behind this, and
Trump said they're really intelligent people, and they trashed him for that. But they're very, very people. Strategic, very intelligent people.
Yeah.
Found tunnels that they built to get.
There's miles of tunnels under Gaza going under the borders.
Very intelligent.
And it's really hard for Israel to find those tunnels, because they actually make them very deep. So it's hard to use sonar or anything like that, any kind of, electronics to try to find the tunnels, because they're so deep. And so that's one of the big problems.
That's what the Vietnamese did during the Vietnam War, and the Japanese during World War II. They did the same thing.
Yeah. And so that's what's going on.
Intelligent people.
And this, this is, Hamas is just, it's like another ISIS. And that's one of the things, is ISIS has not really gone away.
No.
ISIS is just one of the names for Muslim jihad. It's Islamic jihad. That is what they are commanded to do in their doctrine, is to wage war against everyone who is not a Muslim, and to subject the world to Islam. That's their goal. And it will always be their goal, and it always has been for 1,700 years. So, or not 1,700, I'm sorry, 1,400 years since the time of Muhammad.
I just thought of something.
Huh?
Maybe the reason why you're not getting kicked off of YouTube is because you make the Muslims sound like you're giving them space. You're giving them notoriety. You're giving them attention. Even though I'm not saying it in a bad way.
It's not necessarily good
I'm saying,
notoriety, I'm talking about.
But you are bringing attention to them, and maybe they like that.
Yeah. Well, I did get a video kicked off of YouTube because I was talking about Islam and their false prophecies.
Okay, well, never mind.
But anyway, this is just one of the reasons why I believe it will be a Muslim Antichrist, fulfilling Jesus's word. And this really helps us to understand this, because remember what Jesus said? He said, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, if you're in the area of Judea, which today is the West Bank, he said, just run. Run for your life. Don't even get a change of clothes. Mm-hmm. That was Jesus's warning concerning that when the Antichrist takes power, because he's going to annihilate all the Jews that are there, and which is exactly what they're saying they want to do. It's just one of the reasons I believe it will be a Muslim when the Antichrist takes over the world.
That's Judea, right? I mean, that's
the West Bank.
The West Bank.
Yeah.
So
is the area that was Judea.
That's where all of them are.
Well, they actually came from Gaza, which is southeast. The West Bank's on the other side.
There's a lot of Muslims in.
I'm sorry, southwest. The southwest side is where Gaza is in Israel. The West Bank is actually on the east side of Israel.
On the east.
On the other side.
Who's on the east? What are the
Jerusalem,
countries?
Jordan is over there.
Jordan.
Syria, Lebanon in the north. Yeah.
They're surrounded.
Well, that's the thing is, Hezbollah from Lebanon is now attacking.
They are.
And we knew that was going to happen. And just because Hamas and Hezbollah are both products of Islam, products of Iranian forces, because Iran wants to wipe out Israel. they've been saying that for years. That's their stated goal, is to blow Israel off the map. And they set up Hamas and they set up Hezbollah to set up camp near Israel because Iran is too far away. And so they're trying to create military camps and military bases that are right next to Israel. And that's why they're in Gaza. That's why they're in Lebanon and Syria. That's a whole, I don't want to make this take too long before we get into the Revelation today. Just to try to do a quick recap of news. So I'm going to try not to get too deep into these subjects. I tend to go real deep.
No, but everybody loves it. Okay,
here's another, Israel, Hamas vows to cleanse the world, not only of Jews. We have to remember this, that Christians are also their dire enemy, not just the Jews. They hate both equally. And here's, the Hamas leadership vowing to cleanse the world of Christianity. We have to remember that. That's when the Antichrist takes power. When we're studying Revelation, we get to Revelation chapter 13, you'll see that the Antichrist will be making war against the saints during his reign.
Yeah,
and this is exactly what he's going to be doing. He's going to be trying to cleanse the world of Christianity. So another reason I believe it will be Islam. And then I don't know if you've been watching the news, you've certainly heard about the report of the babies that were beheaded. There were some false pictures that came out right away of babies in cages, and that was actually fake. It was from years ago, from something else. But there are multiple reports, and even the Muslims saying, yes, this did happen. There are multiple reports that it was actually happening. And there's a thing I'm going to show you here.
There's pictures of them holding the babies.
They found, but this is also, this is like gaslighting. Them holding the babies and caring for them
I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that there's proof that they had babies.
But they were actually publishing videos of them being nice to babies, which it's just false flag gaslighting.
Shooting them in the head and
I saw a video of one of these invaders actually just going down a line of porta potties and firing into them all, hoping to kill someone in there, not caring who it was, whether it was a child or a mother or anyone. Yeah, just indiscriminately killing. But here's when they found Palestinians that had been killed, and they found these documents. Remember, I was saying that everything was done on paper. Well, they found paper in their pockets of instructions on exactly what they were supposed to be doing, which was to go in, intentionally targeting women and children, kidnapping as many as they can, killing as many as they can as quickly as they can, and then taking the victims that they kidnapped back to Gaza as fast as possible. That was the instructions they found on the bodies of these men. So it absolutely is what they did. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. This is another one, and I want to move on because this was so much the fault of the Biden admin. The Biden administration totally is the reason for they sent $148 million. Now, of course, you say, well, this was for humanitarian aid. Yeah, it was intended by us, but did Hamas use that for humanitarian aid? I showed you just like a week ago, I think it was last week, I showed you where Palestinians, the citizens of Palestine were actually complaining because they didn't have any electricity.
Yeah.
And
After we sent
and
them
we send them
millions of
$148 million.
Yeah.
This is not the first time we've sent them millions and millions and millions of
dollars.
dollars
Let's not forget the
over
$6
time.
billion.
And then, you know, the $6 billion, but that $6 billion to Iran was not even the first money we've sent to Iran. I mean, you remember the pallets of cash that Obama sent. You remember there's billions of dollars that have already been sent under the Biden administration that Iran is using to finance these wars. And it's, you know, and here's the thing is, under the radar, Biden sent 75 million to Palestine the day before the jihad massacre started.
Wow.
And the reports are that the intel agencies were buzzing about something's going on, and he sends them $75 million the day before, while there's these reports of things going on.
Do you think Israel knew ahead of time? Because there's something going on around the saying that Israel knew.
Well, there was a report from one U.S. senator that says Israel ignored some report which was proven false. Okay. They didn't have any credible information about this before it happened. They didn't ignore anything. Yeah.
Okay.
But the intel agencies were buzzing the day before about something about Gaza Strip. The U.S. didn't even know for sure, but there was activity, and they were questioning, and they were like, something's going on, and they went ahead and sent another $75 million to them. And it's absolutely is, you know, the Biden admin policies and reinstituting of money going to Iran and going to Palestine and financing these terror organizations knowingly, because when we send money there, we know that we're financing Hamas. We know it. We know when we give money to Iran that we're financing global jihad. Yeah. We know that.
Yes.
And we do it anyway. Well, Biden does anyway.
I'm not that bright, but I figured it out.
Obama did it purposefully, because I'm not going to go there, but if you know anything about Obama's real legacy, he's a Muslim, and he was all for destruction of America, which he began, and Biden is continuing. Well, it didn't just start with Obama, that's for sure. I mean, he's just continuing a legacy that started well before him, but they're accelerating their plans. That's what, if you've been with us for a while, we've talked about who is they. We've talked about who the puppet master is. We've talked about how Satan has the world set up for his final conquering. And so this has all been centuries in the making, really. It's not, we can't just blame it on the latest puppets. They're just being used. But it's definitely, they're definitely, you know, willingly being used. Biden is willingly being used for these things, willingly being a puppet for personal gain, which he's had personal gain for all 45 years that he's been in power. Just like all of them, they all, you know, how do they become multimillionaires on a salary of a senator? You know, it's in our face. Yeah. And you know, it's been ignored for so long.
The president is only like, how much do they get? Like $250,000 a year.
Yeah, they don't have that much of a salary.
But they have $6 million homes. It's like, what?
The president makes $400,000 a year.
400,000. So anyway, but they don't become multimillionaires on that salary. Am I talking too loud?
Yeah, you're talking really loud.
You don't sound loud to me.
I know, but he's sitting right here. It's like,
oh.
So, and then another thing is, you know, we know that there's supposed to be sanctions on Iran. I know that, you know, Biden kind of loosened some of the sanctions, and they're, you know, reignited the nuclear deal and all that. But there's supposed to be sanctions on Iran, which are being ignored. They're selling 4 million barrels of oil a day, mostly to China, because China has always supported Iran. So has Russia. And Russia, Putin's even saying, you know, that Israel is really at fault for all of this and supporting Hamas, and China, same deal. And, you know, this is not new news.
No.
It's not new news. If it's new to you, then do some research, because this has been going on for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But there are no sanctions, really. Iran is not hurt by us putting sanctions on it. They're selling 4 million barrels of oil a day. They're making a lot of money, and it's all going to military buildup and financing these jihadi adventures. This was in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
If you, I still shot at this
yeah.
video, because this was actually a video of them chanting, "Gas the Jews,
Yeah.
kill the Jews," and this Allahu Akbar, which most people think that means God is great, because that's what we've been told in the West. But it does not mean that. It means Allah is the greatest,
Mm-hmm.
not God is great. Allah is the greatest is what that means. Satan is the greatest is what they're chanting.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what the black flag means, this is jihad.
Yeah.
This is the black flag symbolizing jihad in Islam. That's what they're parading around in Australia.
And many other places.
And other places, yeah. Gas
Europe.
the Jews.
Europe is
all over the place. Even
Europe is fallen, dude.
Europe
it
has
is
definitely
so
fallen to the immigration of Muslims.
UK, France, Germany.
We've been talking about that the past few weeks, and you can see it big time now in Europe with all of the support for Hamas.
Yeah.
The not rallies, they're protests on the streets, chanting and cheering for Hamas.
Yeah. I know, a little blonde.
They're so happy about the slaughter of human beings. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I don't get is even people in the U.S. I mean, and one thing I'm going to talk about here is how, the universities in this country have created anti-Semitism. They have been, they're groups that just, all of the universities across the United States, they're groups that just teach everyone to hate Jews. And it's propaganda that you have to understand where this comes from, because Jews are just another race of people.
Yeah.
And there's all of this propaganda that it really comes from Iran. The Palestinian Liberation Organization has been around since 1964, pushing out false narrative after false narrative. I'm talking about on a daily basis. They lie about everything, and they push false narratives out, and they push this anti-Semitism. And why? Because Muslims hate Jews.
Yeah,
and they want to kill them all. And they want us to be okay with them killing them all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Satan's plan.
Yeah.
Satan's plan is to make the world hate Jews and Christians, so that when he puts his Antichrist into power, nobody will care that he goes and slaughters all the Jews and Christians that he can find.
Yeah.
That's what's going. We're watching this happen, people.
It'll make
This
it
is
easy
what's
for
going
people
on.
to find them. Yeah.
That's we have to understand this. And if it's hard to comprehend, because I know some people, it's hard to comprehend this.
Yeah.
This is purposeful. And it really stems from Satan.
Yeah. We have somebody new, Patrema Gilbert.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Glad you're here.
They said right.
So it's really important to understand this. This will help your worldview to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Because as we're told in the scriptures, this is not a battle of flesh and blood.
No.
This is a battle of principalities and darkness in the world, and it's a spiritual battle that's going on, and it's a war that's raging around us right now, and we have to understand that. And Satan is going to appear to win.
Yes.
He's going to rule the world for 3.5 years when he puts his man into power, and he's going to appear to win. but Jesus told us the end of the story. We know how it ends. Jesus wins. He comes back and says,
Mhm.
mankind has ruled himself long enough. I'm taking over.
You messed it up.
This is what's wrong with the world, is God is allowing man to rule himself.
Yeah.
This is what we got into.
Nice.
The world is a horrific, awful place right now.
Well, that's how it looked when Noah, when
Exactly.
Oh, it's so much worse than that. It's so much worse.
Well, I don't know though,
Yeah,
because there was a
either.
lot of war. There was a
They
lot
had-
of horrific things going on before the flood.
Oh,
The
Yeah.
thoughts of the hearts of men was
The
only
thing
evil
is-
continually.
The thing is when God flooded the earth, it pretty much drowned the people pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And
He was
with
actually pretty
God-
merciful. It was fairly
yeah,
quick.
that was
Yeah.
pretty merciful.
God, he just had fireballs coming down and pew, pew, set everything on fire. So then people died fairly quickly. But nowadays, there's a lot
Well,
more
there's a lot of suffering,
and
and
it's going to be
it has
drug
nothing to do
out.
with God. The suffering going on in the world right now has nothing to do with God.
People are
It has
dying
everything to do with mankind.
slower and slower.
Men that love money and power and hate.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on right now.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible.
But this is the thing that we have to remember. There's so many in the West that believe the Jews are to be hated, that they're responsible for the atrocities of all these oligarchs. And even though there's less than 10 million Jews in Israel and a few million more in the U.S., they say that they control everything in the world, and this is all propaganda that's come out of Iran and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. This is stuff that's been germinating for decades now.
Well, there's more
And
Muslims than Jews, right?
Well, there's a way more Muslims than there are Jews.
So,
There's like a 1.8
them
billion
alone.
Muslims, and there's only like 15 million Jews in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many more.
that's what I
But
mean.
it's just it's
Leave them
it's
alone.
because Satan's using
I know.
the Muslims,
Yeah.
teaching them, and I've got a video coming up here of these children in Palestine
Oh,
that are
yes.
being taught, and it's like I was saying last week, from the time they learn to speak, they start teaching them to hate Jews. Really,
Yeah.
seriously, they do this, and it you can deny it if you want, but it's a reality. It's a fact, and it's really, like I said, it's Satan, but it's men that are following Satan. It's men that love to hurt other people. These people love to go along with it because they like to hurt other people. And so Islam is such a great religion for them because they can go and just kill and rape and murder in the name of their God.
Yeah.
It's just horrible. But and I have to make this caveat. There are Muslims that don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Not every Muslim in the world is that type of person. It attracts that type of person.
Yeah.
But a lot of Muslims, as I've talked about before, a lot of Muslims identify as a Muslim out of fear for their life. Because if you live in an area where it's a Muslim population, if you try to leave Islam, they'll kill you. Your own family will kill you.
Yeah, but a lot of them you're right, they don't know how to get out.
And they
but
just
they
go
don't
along with it.
necessarily agree with their
They just go
religion.
along with it because that's how they survive.
Well, I think, and that's
No
what
matter
happened.
what country they flee to, their family's going to follow them.
And the people
Yeah.
that are in the Gaza Strip right now, there are like a third of the people there are just innocent bystanders. They're just children and elderly, and people just trying to live there.
Except
I
I did
think
see
all of them are a Hamas.
Well, no,
Not
they're
all
not.
the
They're
people.
definitely not
Well, yeah,
all
that's
Hamas.
what I mean. That's what I mean.
But there was an article that I read recently of a poll that was taken where almost 90% of the people that live in Gaza support what Hamas did. Yeah, they're not sad about it.
Or maybe they just say that they support it because they're afraid.
And that could
I
be.
always feel like there are some innocent people.
Well, there definitely are. There are people that are stuck in that world, not of their own choosing. And some of them don't like what is happening, but they don't.
But they're far and few
But they don't
between.
do anything to stop their devout brother from doing those things, because that would endanger them.
But how would a woman who is 25 years old and has 5 kids by her abusive husband, how is she supposed to stop?
She has no way.
And that's what I'm saying. There are some who
she
are
literally
victims.
is a victim. Yes, absolutely. I'm not condemning everyone, and that's just the same for any race or any country, group of people in the world. You're kind of dependent on your culture.
I think,
and the society you live in.
The reason why I'm saying that is this: I do not support them in any way, shape, or form. I think I'm saying that because I think that what's going on right now is there's such a divide, and people are so angry. And I honestly feel like the people who are supporting Israel should support Israel. However, we're so angry that we need to stop and go, okay, take a breath. We're angry at the people who believe in violence or inflicting violence and are evil people. However, there are a very select few that don't want to do that.
That's true. And here's the thing too.
You have to keep that soft.
Here's the thing too is most people out there say you got to pick a side. Well, I'm saying no, I don't. I don't support Islam because it's a false religion. I don't support rabbinic Judaism because it's a false religion. These people, the Jews that do not believe in Jesus, are not saved. They're not special. They're not anything. They're not any better off than anyone else in the world that doesn't believe in Jesus.
It's the land.
It's the Messianic Jews that are the tree that Christians are grafted into. It's not Jews in Judaism. It's not just because they're blood Jews. It's the Jews that believe in Jesus that are the true Israel, that are God's people, and Christians, because we're grafted in, as Romans 11 says.
But in a country sense, we should be supporting
Israel. Jerusalem is where God chose to put his name.
Right.
We know that Jerusalem will not be destroyed. And in fact, it's the Battle of Armageddon when the Antichrist is bringing the armies of the world down through the valley of Megiddo, and to come in and wipe out Israel finally. And that's when Jesus finishes his descent, touches down on the Mount of Olives, and then speaks a word to wipe out the armies. Which we're going to see in Revelation 19 when we get there. Ooh. I got to get through these news things though, so we can study.
I think Annie had to say this real quick thing.
I just had a quick question. Is it possible that the Dome of the Rock could be destroyed?
There's a possibility, but it's not likely.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they don't have to destroy that mosque.
And it's like we've studied before. There's plenty of room for the temple to be built alongside of it.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying what I'm asking is
there's nothing in prophecy.
There's nothing in prophecy that says that
that it won't be destroyed.
And it's not likely. But it could happen. There's nothing that says it won't.
Yeah.
But it would definitely spark the whole. All of the Muslims in the world would be enraged over that.
Oh, they would really go crazy.
And but it's not likely, and it doesn't have to be. A lot of people teach that it has to be torn down to build the temple. No, there's plenty of room on the Temple Mount to build the temple alongside the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Because how far away is Gaza from Jerusalem?
It's a few miles.
Because I know that
Israel is not that wide. Gaza's only like
Gaza's 40 miles.
Israel.
I heard it today. It's 40 miles across.
Oh, Israel across.
A Gaza Strip is 40 miles. If
40
somebody else
miles
has
long.
a different amount,
Well, it goes
Well,
like
remember we
that.
looked at the map.
And
I know.
Gaza's
Someone
there.
today said that.
Israel's there.
Israel's or Gaza's only a
Egypt
couple
is-
miles wide, and it's like a
Egypt
few
is on the
miles
bottom.
long. It's just a little corner of
We
Israel.
looked on the map and it said 20 miles long, but then
Long.
I heard today that was 40 miles long. So
Yeah.
I really don't know.
I don't think it is. We looked on the map. We saw
Yeah.
for ourselves, but it's not very big. Whether it's 20 or 40 miles, that's pretty small.
Yeah, they have
For,
millions of
for
people
a
in
country.
that 20
Yeah.
miles.
And it's a strip,
Oh.
and it's called Gaza Strip because it's a strip
Mhm.
along the coast.
Oh, I know that, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
Millions of people in that tiny,
Yeah.
the size of New Jersey.
It's very dense, very densely
Yeah.
populated.
Yeah,
So anyway, I'm going to move on. So
like Korea.
and it's important to understand that this propaganda has been going on for decades. They've been teaching the youth in the West, in this country, and it's even in our grade schools, our middle schools, our high schools. It's not just the universities. They've been
Yeah.
teaching children a basically falsified version of history and falsified worldviews and not really teaching the children facts. They're teaching them some imaginary world. And it's one of those things that this is part of Satan's weapon.
Mm-hmm.
This is the weapon Satan is using. And you remember, this is exactly what Hitler used in the buildup towards World War II. When he was able to take control of Germany, he used propaganda. He brainwashed the children in schools. He did all of these things that we're seeing happen right now in the West. And it's because, and this is what I talk about in the Who Is They article and the study we did on it a while ago, because Satan's gone global now. He tried with Hitler to wipe out the Jews and was unsuccessful. He's trying it again on a global scale now, and he's making inroads into every country with this kind of thing. All of this propaganda. He's turning the West into Jew haters, so that he can make this happen as much as possible. And it's all over the universities. In fact, if you've been watching the news, you know that the universities are having these protests and people, cheering their support for Hamas in this situation, it's absolutely insane that people are cheering for the slaughter of other human beings. It's like, what has this world turned into? What has this world become when people are cheering for the slaughter of other people?
Yeah.
I guess it's not new, though. It's not like this is brand new in the world. I mean, if you look at the Roman Colosseum back in the days shortly after Christ, when they were putting Christians in the Colosseum and allowing animals and gladiators to slaughter them, trying to wipe out Christianity then. And it's nothing new, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's horrific to see it actually happening in front of our eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's just anti-Semitic teaching that's been going on, and it's, like I said, it's the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. I've got something on that a little bit further down, but I'll talk about it when I get there. I'm trying to get through this, though. We're going to end up talking about news all day today. But Harvard students rallying around Hamas. We've got Stanford. We've got universities all over the U.S. And then, of course, we have the interfaith propaganda, the lie that all religions worship the same God. And so many churches that teach this today, that all religions worship the same God. This is another one of Satan's lies that he has infiltrated the church with. And, the Catholic Church is the leader, is leading this charge. Interfaithism is Pope Francis's big, it's his big thing. And he built the Interfaith Temple in, what was it, Qatar, or where is it? Oman? I don't remember. Somewhere over in the Middle East, he built that 3-temple.
3-tier. Oh, yeah.
The temple there with the, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are all supposed to be worshiping the same God.
Except they don't like the Jews.
Well, I know, isn't that crazy?
Islam is not
And that's why
Jew-friendly,
you know, interfaithism only comes one way. Muslims don't believe in interfaith.
No,
not at all.
Not at all.
You know,
And they don't like Catholics, and they
No.
don't like LGBTQ.
yeah.
They don't like
They
any of
don't-
that.
And that's why,
They don't believe in God.
No,
they believe they
different
say
God.
they worship the God of Abraham, but we know that they don't.
No.
We've proven that in other Bible studies. But here's
Ishmael
the
was
thing
their father.
about I'm sorry, it's in chapter.
Ishmael
17.
was their father.
The 10 kings hate the whore. And this is the thing. The 10 horns of Daniel 7, the 10 toes of Daniel 2, the 10 horns of the 7-headed beast of Revelation 13, which is just a combination of all the beasts of Daniel 7. The 10 horns are these 10 kings that we're looking at here.
Mm-hmm.
That God puts it in their heart. God puts it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, unto the Antichrist. But the 10 horns hate the whore. They hate her, even though they give their power to the beast who has made an alliance with the whore. They hate her, even though they're allowing her to use them with the Antichrist. It's very interesting, isn't it?
It's more followers.
And that's the thing is, Satan has set this up, and you know, Muslims do not agree on interfaithism, but Satan's got the rest of the world following interfaithism. So that when the false prophet teams up with the Antichrist and Catholicism and Islam join forces, remember, it's not going to be a union of Catholicism and Islam. It's going to be a submission of Catholicism to Islam when this happens.
Right.
Anyway, we talked about that in recent weeks. I really have to move on here. I've got tons more stuff though. But anyway,
Just go.
Yeah. And then, you know, the weapons left behind in Afghanistan by Biden.
Yeah.
Did
you hear about that, Annie?
There's proof that they were using some of those weapons in this invasion. Yeah. Some of the weapons left behind by Biden. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then, you know, the stuff about, you know, the Muslims referring to the Israeli women he captured as his sex slaves. Remember, we talked about that last week. This is what they're doing with those women they captured. They are their sex slaves. This is what Islam does. You know, Sharia law says that a woman is equal to half a man. Yeah. And a man is instructed to beat his woman into submission. It's horrific. This religion that we're supposed to be convinced is just this loving, wonderful, peaceful religion. If you know anything about Islam, you know that it is nothing like that.
I really, really apologize. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. Patrima says they say Lebanon is helping the war too. Yeah,
Lebanon is, you know, Hezbollah is very much entrenched in Lebanon, and it absolutely, and that's why Hezbollah is actually attacking now, creating that northern front to the war.
They've been firing, and the Iron Dome is knocking them out.
Yeah. But from what I've heard, they have a cache of more advanced missiles that they have not used yet, that they're waiting for the appropriate time. They've got so many of them that it will overwhelm the Iron Dome. They're just waiting, from what I've heard,
the Iron Dome's
to do that. They're just waiting for you know, Iran, which is really who's behind it all, to say go. UN leader rebukes Israel. This is, if you don't know what's going on with the UN has always gone against Israel in every situation. Every time. The UN is anti-Semitic. And they prove it over and over and over. The Squad. These people,
the Four Musketeers.
These are despicable, horrible human beings in our government.
Yeah,
that's just awful. Iran threatened to enter the Gaza war.
Yes,
they actually said that if Israel goes in to Gaza on a ground offensive, that they will.
Oh, they're going to get involved. They'll
get involved.
Yeah, I heard that.
In the war. Yeah,
World
directly. But this is what, if you remember, Iran is a long way away from Israel, and they've got a pretty powerful military, but they have to be able to use the airspace between Israel and Iran, which is part of the problem with Israel, is trying to get to Iran and use the airspace of other countries in between. And that's part of the problem. That's why Iran is setting up, bases in Lebanon and Syria and Gaza, because they're trying to surround Israel with close bases, and that's why Israel's always blowing them up. But so that's a thing that we can expect. I want to give a shout out to Sports Fan 4215 from Rumble.
Yeah,
You said this from last week. That just she said she watched this video and wanted to let us know that saw a video yesterday of a cab driver saying he had a passenger that told him he was paid to come here by the UN. And so I believe we all need to keep our heads on a swivel, right? Especially since the UN is paying for this evil.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely, this corroborates everything I know. I already know this, but some guy saying that it happened to him just proves that it's actually true. That the UN is paying people. All of these illegals coming across the southern border in the US, this is a coordinated human trafficking venture, and they're paying people to come and invade our country.
Yeah, infiltrate.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they're doing, and this corroborates it.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for posting that. This is just an article. I keep bringing things up that comes up in the week, and there's so many more. I just picked and chose a few that. But here's this. This is what's coming to America.
Oh, yeah.
This is in France. This is what's going on in Europe right now. And this is why all the French people want to get rid of all the immigrants now, because they have destroyed France.
Yes.
Totally destroyed France. The same thing is happening in the UK. Same thing's happening in Germany, all over Europe.
And they don't go to these places and just trying to blend in and move into
they don't
society.
acclimate.
No, they come in and they rip it to shreds.
They demand that everywhere they go turns into their culture. Yes. They don't assimilate into other cultures.
They want to turn all these places into a Gaza Strip.
Yeah, Islam comes in and says you must become like us. Yeah. And this is. Can you imagine this? Being on the street, some guy with a big knife chasing you, and all you've got is a chair for a weapon to defend yourself. Oh, that's. And they're trying to take our guns, so we have no defense. Yeah. Oh boy.
Patrima said, but I believe it. Some ISIS people were American, causing havoc years ago. It's a paid job and event. Some even had USA Army tattoo on their skin. This thing is deep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. She said terrible. Yeah.
Absolutely. This is not new. This has been going on for a long time. The PLO was founded in 1964, and they are a product of Iran. Yasser Arafat was an Egyptian Muslim that ran the PLO for decades. This has been going on for a long, long time. And this is the video I want to show you real quick.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a couple minutes long. It will blow your mind like it did mine.
Mm-hmm.
So watch this.
ولا مرة إنه يكون الهيكل تحت المسجد الأقصى. أنا أقرأ اليهود بعلمونا إن
let me start it over.
الصهيونية هم لا إنه نعمل حرب إنه نفرجي اليهود إنه إحنا مش إنه إحنا مش شاطرين إحنا قوايا كمان. في ناس بحبوا فلسطين بدهم يحاربوا وبضحوا بدمهم عشان فلسطين. أنا بدي أهزمهم بالحرب، بدي أهزمهم. بيعلمونا إن الأقصى إلنا وإلنا يعني الحق، يعني إلنا فلسطين والأراضي كلها إلنا، لأنهم بسبب كذبهم وانتهاكاتهم إنهم يقولون إنه الهيكل تحت المسجد الأقصى، ولا مرة إنه يكون الهيكل تحت المسجد الأقصى. أنا أقرأ اليهود بعلمونا إن الصهيونية هم أعدائنا، وهم أهم إشي لازم يسوي فيهم عملية.
يعني انهم بيعلمونا بالمدرسه انهم ارهابيين
بيحكوا لنا عن اليهود انهم هدول مش منيح وهدول بقتلوا قاعدين بشبابنا. بيحكوا لنا هدول غدارين، وبيحكوا لنا انه هدول بغدرونا، هدول مش منيح. اذا بطعن بدعس عليهم، اعمل عمليات. كيف يعني؟ الدعس، عمليات الدعس، عمليات الطعن والاشتباك المسلح في المخيمات. ايش اكيد هدول العمليات ترفع الراس ولفلسطين. العمليات هاي تاعت الدعس والسكاكين هاي اشي بيرفع الراس لفلسطين. اذا بدك بطلع بستشهد عادي. انا ان شاء الله اساعد الشباب، وان شاء الله اصير مقاوم بالمستقبل مع الدولة الإسلامية.
Like for ISIS.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, this has been going on for a long time. In fact, I have a note here, I think, about the man Walid Shubat. If you've never heard of him, I have a note here somewhere. But Walid Shubat was a Palestinian Muslim. He was raised as a Palestinian terrorist. He was raised and taught that he was going to one day martyr himself for Allah. That's the way he was raised. And he's a convert to Christianity. He has a book. He has a website, shubad.org, I think it is. And he has a book written called God's War on Terror. He's a converted Christian, and he's spending his time now trying to help people understand the real Islam and what it's all about. And he's an actual, like I said, he was actually raised as a Palestinian terrorist. And it's very interesting and very corroborating to know that this is what we know is true, and it's corroborated by someone who actually was raised there. Oh.
Yeah, and when you have kids being taught that way of life, they don't have any empathy for killing an Israeli baby.
Right. And that's why that's why you notice some of those children talking about killing Jews, and they're smiling while they're saying it. Yes. It's just
they're not going to think anything watching a Jew die.
Yeah. To them, they're killing an animal.
Yeah,
that's what they're taught.
What? He or she, I'm not sure. The demonic spirit of war and death, horsemen, hate is taught.
And that's one of the things that I went through the first 4 seals last week, and what I believe they are. I believe it's a parallel scripture to Zechariah 6, the 4 spirits that are released in the world, and this is definitely, the red horse, communism, the green horse, Islam, and death and hell follows. That it definitely is the spirit that's controlling their worldview, their mindset. UN Security Council refuses to condemn Hamas war crimes. The UN Security Council is refusing to condemn people that went in and slaughtered a couple thousand people, women and children,
raped,
kidnapping them, raping them, beheading them, and the UN Security Council won't condemn that. I mean, wow, this is the world we live in.
And then there's a couple of people that have gone into that area and rescued some Americans, and one of them is Corey Mills. He's a congressman from, I can't remember where.
There's a few people that are doing that. True
soldiers, true heroes.
Going in, just like there were some private groups that went into Afghanistan and rescued some people from there. There's private groups that do a lot of the things that our government isn't doing.
Yeah, they're still trying to figure out how to get some of them back.
Yeah, but I got to move on.
I know.
So the Muslims in the U.S. are laughing happily at the images of massacred Israeli civilians. I'm not going to show you the video, but it's horrific. They're laughing gleefully at images of massacred, murdered people. A Muslim woman in the UK says that bloody Hamas jihad massacres are inspiring and beautiful. How do people get to this state?
Demon
possessed. Man, yeah.
It's because there's nothing but evil in man's heart.
And that's the way it was before the flood.
War is leading to the World War III and New World Orders, things speeding up.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah. And I believe that World War III, as we were talking about in the beginning, is going to be the sixth trumpet. At least it'll end at the sixth trumpet. And the New World Order, if you haven't been with us for a while, we've been talking about this for a while. There's the who is they, the stages set. I did a series of videos on that where I talk about how Satan has all this set up, how the oligarchs and these, the elites, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, the devil worshippers, right? They are all being promised things that when Satan ultimately takes over the world with his Antichrist, he's going to stab a lot of them in the back. He's going to pull the rug out right from under him, and he's going to use all of their carefully laid plans to take over the world himself. And the Antichrist, we're told in Daniel, he's going to divide up the land among some of them and give some of them rule over certain areas. But a lot of them are going to get stabbed in the back by their God. Because he doesn't love them.
Right.
They worship him, but he doesn't love them. He hates them, and he's using them.
Yeah. He doesn't care what happens to him.
Yeah. And then I already talked about this earlier when Paul brought it up, that this is why Israel was actually caught off guard. And then here's white supremacists are cheering for Hamas. And why are they happy? Because Jews are, for the most part, white. Arabs are not. Why are white supremacists cheering for non-whites killing whites? And it's like, what?
I know.
What is wrong with the world? It's the supernatural dumbness is what it is. The lying wonders of Satan has everybody deceived so badly.
I saw that today, and I wasn't sure if I could believe what I just heard.
You can.
And the BBC, the British outlet, the BBC's Arabic channel downplays Hamas atrocities, suggesting that those kidnapped from their home are not victims. So they're kidnapped from their home, but they're not victims. Egypt closes their border to the Palestinians from Gaza.
Yeah, they don't.
So Hamas is doing roadblocks so that the Gazans can't evacuate. Egypt closes their border. I mean, they're stuck there. This is why Israel's actually setting up. They're working on setting up safe zones for civilians when they go in.
Palestinian civilians.
Yeah, exactly.
Safe zones. Do you hear that? Israel
is setting up safe zones for Palestinian civilians. Yeah. Muslim mayors of Dearborn and Hamtramck, Michigan, says there can be no peace with Israel. These are Dearborn, Michigan, is one of the most heavily Muslim areas in the
Amtrak.
United States. In fact, in Michigan and in Minnesota, they both have areas that are Sharia zones where it's strict Sharia law. The police do not go in there.
Yeah.
The borders of those areas, the cops never go in. They govern themselves. It's all Sharia law.
And 1 mile from where my brother lives in Minneapolis, he can hear the loudspeaker prayers
5 times a day. Yeah. This is what I was talking about earlier. 89% of Palestinians support the terror attacks.
Yeah.
Even though they're not terrorists themselves, they're supporting it.
Yeah.
They support it. Hamas is ISIS. As I was saying, ISIS is not dead. ISIS is not gone because Islam is not gone. It's just another name.
Yes.
In fact, they're saying that
ISIS too,
that this attack used a lot of the same exact types of things that ISIS did. The same, can't think of the word, but they did the same things that ISIS did, because it's really just Islam. It's not ISIS. It's not Hamas. It's not Hezbollah. It's Islam. All of it. Walid Shubat, told you about him. And then, this vilifying of Jews and whitewashing Muslim violence and hatred is 100% Satan's work. He's been, he's had thousands of years, 6,000 years to learn how to deceive men. And he uses, it's like when we did our study on the false religions, he uses the same lie he told Eve to fool people today. You can be as gods. Well, all of these false religions, the vast majority of them say we can one day be gods. It's crazy, but it still works because there's so many people.
Yeah.
And this is, I've been trying to warn people about this for 15 years now. And it's now I've got something to point at and say, look at this.
Yeah.
Look what's going on. Because there's been plenty of it before, but now this is horrific. This is in your face, slaughtering, horrific bloodshed.
Trained for 2 years for this attack on Israel. That's right.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah, I heard that too.
It's been ongoing.
It's been a while.
Yep. And China is actually helping Iran to bankroll Hamas and other terror organizations. And here's the thing: I've been reading a lot about China and what they're doing now. Is they had the 100-year plan after World War II. China came up with a 100-year plan, and after the communists took over China, but they're accelerating that plan to finish it early. And they're trying to, everything they're doing now is to accelerate that plan to take over the world. And they want the U.S. involved in multiple wars. So they're definitely encouraging this and being behind Iran and behind Russia and all of these, because they want the United States involved on a 3 or 4 front war. So then we're too busy to worry about Taiwan and too busy to worry about them, and they can then use that to their advantage.
But then you need to pick your battles. Let them have Taiwan. What's it going to do to the rest of the world if China takes Taiwan? Nothing.
Well,
business.
It's going to help them to take over the world is what it's going to do.
Yeah.
But the thing that we know that we're in the last days. We know that there's not that much time left. They don't have hundreds of years.
Yeah.
They don't have. I don't think they even have decades, right? I really don't believe that. Jesus said, when you see these signs, the generation alive at that time will not pass away before all is fulfilled. And we're seeing all of the signs. So I don't think that my generation is going to die off before all is fulfilled.
No.
And we've got a whole slew of videos on that. And Diane's working on part 8. So if you haven't seen those, definitely go to YouTube and go to the playlists and look for When is the End of the World?
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, check out the playlist.
Or it's on Rumble too. It just doesn't have a playlist. You just have to scroll or do a little search. The Rumble search thing works fairly well. But then some other news that I just had at the end of this. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention. That, quakes. There were a pair of 6.3 magnitude earthquakes in Afghanistan this last week.
This last week?
It was this last week, yeah.
Oh.
Like Friday or something?
2,400 people died. Yeah.
I don't think I even heard of that.
Yeah.
That's weird. And
So,
I watched.
And these are all part of the signs, right? All of this, the natural disasters that have spiked in the last few years are continuing. And it's some good news.
Some good news.
And this is not the first time that scientists have put out an article debunking climate change, but there's a new one, and by some very esteemed scientists that have put out an article that it's just dumb. They're falsifying all the data. There is nothing that says that the world is about to end because of climate change. And then I saw this. Bill Gates, even just recently in a New York Times event, said there's a lot of climate exaggeration. The climate is not the end of the planet, so the planet is going to be fine, he said. Who's the one pushing this? Wasn't Bill Gates part of the push for this climate hoax?
Yes.
And he's now admitting that while there are effects on humanity, the planet itself won't be affected, and that no temperate country is going to become uninhabitable.
It seems
it's
like
not as big of an emergency as they're trying to say.
It seems like all the little Luciferians are like,
they're altering their plans.
They're fighting. They're bickering.
They're fighting amongst themselves.
Yeah,
they're vying for the top spot. They're changing their plans, rolling with the punches. As Bill Gates said, it didn't work out quite as well as they'd hoped. So now they're going for their next phase.
Just said they saw that too.
So we're going to try something else on the public.
Right. So yeah, look out for what's coming next. Yeah. So I know we've exhausted almost all of our time so far.
I know, but it was so good though. We love that.
So I'm just going to jump right back into where we were on studying Revelation. Now remember, I did the first 4 seals last week, and we've talked about this. I'm going to show this to you again because this is the understanding of how to read Revelation, is to understand that all of these visions end at the same place. They all end at the return of Christ, because you remember, what is the book of Revelation? It's the revelation of Jesus Christ. That's what the entire book of Revelation is. It's the revelation of Jesus Christ. It's all about his coming and the last days. And that's what, that's why John, the title of this book is the revelation of Jesus Christ. Yeah. This is what all of these visions are about. And they all end at the same place. They're all kind of going on at different times, start in different places. And then towards the end, they're all happening at the same time, and they end at the same place. And if you haven't been with us for the first 3 parts of this series, please go back and watch the first 3. And go to my website, BibleProphecyandTruth.com. Go to the Biblical Prophecy menu, and Chapter 10, Understanding the Book of Revelation, is kind of what we're going through here. So you can catch up if you like to read too. But then I already have a full 21-part video series on understanding Revelation. And then on my YouTube channel and on Rumble, I have a full live stream that's about 12 parts that we did about a year ago. So we're just kind of redoing it, except I'm doing it a little differently this time. I'm going through the book of Revelation as it happens chronologically, not as it happens as it's written, because Revelation cannot be understood if you try to read it as if it's chronological from start to finish. And that's what I prove with our study that I did on, the timeline, and with this chart. There's much more than just this chart of scriptures that we can reference, but these 5 scriptures show us that this is one event. This is one event that's recorded in 5 different places and gives us different information about each one. I had this other tab open because there was a bunch of other news that I hadn't put in my note, and I thought if I had time, I'd get to it. So much for that.
Is it good stuff though?
Well, I'm not going to go. I'm done with news. And we got to talk a little bit about
But
Revelation.
is it good?
So, so the seals, the first 4 seals, like I said, you don't have to believe it. You don't have to agree with me. The seals could yet be something that has yet to happen. Nobody can say for sure. We can only speculate based on what the Bible tells us. And that's why, I believe 100% that it's a parallel passage with Zechariah 6, 1-8 is the parallel to Revelation 6, 1-8. And that it's the spirits that are in the world that have been in the world for millennia. And they have created Catholicism. They've created Islam. They've created communism. They've created capitalism. And it's those 4 spirits that are in the world that are working, right now. So when we look at the timeline, the next thing, and I'm going to go, I'm going to show you this. Don't even look at that. I'm going to go here and go back to mine. Because if you haven't been with us before, if you go to my Revelation study and click on this jump to the timeline, I've got this list, this chart, and I'm going through the companion document, which shows us, oops, let me go back. Let me do this, pop it out into a one page. But it goes through the actual chronological record as it happens. Like, remember, we started in Revelation 12 because that was a vision of something that had already happened. And then it continues into future prophecy. But the first 5 verses are actually something that happened in the past. And then we see the things here where Jesus comes to the Isle of Patmos and meets John there and talks to him and gives him the letters to the 7 churches. And then we see the sea of glass. We went through that, and the 4 beasts and the 24 elders and all that. And then the visions of the seals is what we see next. And I believe that is actually chronologically correct. But like I say, nobody can say for sure. And I'm not telling you have to believe the same way I do. This may or may not have happened. This is the stuff we're absolutely 100% waiting for next in the timeline. The seals and the trumpets may have already started blowing and being broken. And I really believe they have. So the first 4 seals, I believe, are those 4 spirits from Zechariah that have been released into the world. And they've been working for quite some time and have created these worldviews, and the mindsets and the societies that live under those spirits are very drastically different if you look at the world and the state it is today. And then we have the first 4 trumpets, which, if they have already blown, this would be next in the chronological timeline after the first 4 seals were broken. And again, like I say, we can't say absolute certainty, but like I did with the first 4 seals, I'm going to blow through this real quick and then encourage you to go study it for yourself. I've got videos, live streams I've done on the 7 trumpets. I've got videos on the 7 trumpets on the old original videos that I did. If you go to my website, let me just show you real quick. If you go to my website and go to if you go to the resources, you can go to the bottom of any page and it has this, but I have this watch our videos or listen to audio. And I've got like my core videos on here, which I have a couple of videos on the 7 trumpets, which talk about what I'm going through here. And then you can also go to Rumble or YouTube from the links here. But I wanted to show you that in case you want to study this, because I'm going to blow through it really fast right now. We don't know if the first and second trumpets have blown, but if you look at the obvious, hail and fire mingled with blood cast upon the earth, a third part of the trees, grass burned up, a great burning mountain cast into the sea, third part of the sea becomes blood, third part of the creatures die, third part of the ships are destroyed. Well, the obvious is like this, right? I mean, it's a great mountain, burning mountain cast in the sea. Sounds like a big asteroid hitting, right? Which could be, that's something that hasn't happened yet. But just like everything else that God does, he never gives the obvious. Just like he spoke in parables when he taught, when he was here on the earth as a man, he spoke in parables. And when the disciples asked him why he taught in parables, he said, because I don't want them to know. I want you to know. I want those that love me to know. And I don't want those that don't love me to know. And he wrote prophecy in the same way. He wrote the whole Bible in the same way. So that we really need to study it. We have to love his truth or we're not going to find it. And so I don't think God's going to give us the obvious. I really don't think so. And so when we look at things that could have been, World War I was an event that this is a very, very short description of the first trumpet. I don't really think World War I matches it that well, but it could have been. So it doesn't mean that it can't have been. So it's possible. But that's not what really convinces me. The first trumpet could have been World War I. Another possibility, as Jay pointed out a while ago, was the Leonid storm of 1833, which, wow,
that was
a meteor shower.
That was really ironic.
You know, I know, 100,000 meteors crossing the sky every hour. I mean, talk about, you know, hail and fire mingled with blood cast upon the earth, you know, and I'm sure there was a lot of trees and grass burned up from those. And you know, this was back in 1833. It could have been that. There are many things that could have been, right? Because remember, the first 4 trumpets they're not the woes. The first 4 trumpets are more of warnings from God. Hey, he's like poking us. Hey, wake up. Remember the 5th, 6th, and 7th trumpet are the 3 woes. These are judgments of God. These are horrific things that are going to be worldwide events.
That should be interesting.
Yeah. And that's kind of a cool thing. I was like, wow, that's really, it could have been.
That was
a shocker.
And it could have been World War I. But the second trumpet, the one that gets me, a great mountain burning with fire cast into the sea.
Wow.
Hiroshima, from the inland sea in Japan, would have looked like maybe a great burning mountain cast into the sea. John had no idea what a nuclear explosion looked like, or even had any idea what it was. He just described what he saw in the vision. A great burning mountain cast into the sea. A third part of the sea becomes blood. Crude oil is compressed organic matter, is decayed and liquefied, right? This could be blood to God. Millions of barrels of oil lost at sea during World War II and destroyed ships and tankers because they used to blow up the tankers so that they couldn't refuel. There's tens of millions more barrels of oil lurking in deteriorating shipwrecks at the bottom of the ocean, that some of those are imploding right now, and millions of barrels of oil are being leaked into the ocean.
Yeah.
In this war, 36,387 ships were destroyed. If you look at, there were a total of 105,127 ships used in World War II. 36,387 is almost exactly a third. A third part of the ships were destroyed.
That's true. That's
articles from people talking about how there's a dramatic decrease in the amount of fish in the sea. A third part of the sea creatures died in the second trumpet. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm pointing these things out. You don't have to believe it, but man, is that compelling. It's like, wow, this really could be the second trumpet. The third trumpet's another one.
That's my favorite.
This one blows my mind, right? The third angel sounded fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. Now, what are stars? They're constant hydrogen explosion, basically. It's not what is it? It's not fusion. Oh yeah, it is. I think it's fusion, where it's
Jay
just
knows.
constant fusion, atomic fusion, and that's what causes the light and the heat. It's a constant burning, and a great star burning as it were a lamp in Russia in the Ukraine in 1986. The Chernobyl nuclear reactor exploded,
Mm-hmm.
and what would it have looked like to John? There was a full nuclear fire that burned for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, a full nuclear fire burned. It rained incessantly for 5 days. And the theme of this water, the name of the star is called Wormwood, and third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. This explosion caused a storm that poured nuclear or contaminated water into the rivers. It went all across Europe. Europe was heavily contaminated by the nuclear cloud that went across. I've got a little map here of where that cloud went all across Europe and contaminated Europe with Session 183 or whatever. What is Session 180? Session 180 something. The nuclear, the radiation, the poison that gets into you and attaches to your bones from this. Session 180 something. I can't remember.
Yeah,
it's right up, slipping up my
Jay
tongue.
knows.
But here's the thing. Jay knows everything. But here's the thing. Chernobyl. If you were to read this in the local Chernobyl dialect, it would say a great star fell from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and fell upon the third part of the waters, found in the waters. And the name of the star is called Chernobyl. That's what it would read in the Ukrainian local dialect in Chernobyl. The name of the star is called Chernobyl. That's how it would read there in that local language.
Andy, do you remember
That's what
Chernobyl?
blows me away.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
This
like
guy has a show out. It's like a documentary where he goes to different places that have been abandoned. One of the places is Chernobyl.
Oh, yes.
In the basement, and it was still very terrible.
Oh,
down
yeah.
there.
The radiation
yeah.
is still high
Yeah.
in some areas.
it's still really bad.
Ugh.
It's still uninhabitable.
Deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to leave.
Deep.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah, if you've never seen this before,
Yes,
go to my
it's very
website
compelling.
and watch the videos that I did on
Yeah.
that, because it is very compelling. I'm not saying you got to believe it, but wow, does it
Yeah.
does it really match?
It's prophecy, so it has to be speculation until it actually happens.
Right. I can't
And then
tell
when
you
it
it's for
does
sure
happen,
until
you just
we know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
When it does happen, it's like I knew it.
I
Yeah,
knew it.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And we're very much watching prophecy being fulfilled before our eyes today.
Daily.
Yeah.
Daily.
So fourth trumpet, again, speculative. It could be
Yeah.
that God kind of just speeded up time.
I hope so.
And it because it's a third part of the day and the night, and it's kind of, the wording is really weird.
Mhm.
And so what does it really mean? I don't know, but it could be that. And here's one of the things, time seems to go so fast.
Yeah.
And I used to think it was just because I was getting older that time seemed to be compressed. And I just assumed that. But then when I started studying this 18 years ago, when my kids were just little kids, I asked them. I mean, they were old enough. They were in grade
10 and
school.
12.
They were in grade school. And so they were at the age that I remembered summer vacation being an infinite period of time that was just wonderful. And it lasted forever. When I was a kid, I remember that. And I asked them, I said, how long does summer vacation last? They're like, it's here and gone. I'm like, really? Yeah. So it's not my perception because I'm older.
Mm-mm.
My kids felt the same way.
But when we
Yeah.
were kids, though, it seemed like it just was so long.
I know.
3
remember that.
months felt like 9 months, you know.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah, I
for
know.
us, it dragged on. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great.
And my kids say it was just there and gone,
Yeah.
and which was completely opposite.
But even people
So
who
then-
don't believe in prophecy and believe the Bible are saying, how come time is going
just
by
flying
so fast?
I know.
Even they figure it out.
And then, you know, Einstein's theory of relativity, God is way smarter than Einstein. He just did what he did, right? But here's one of the things too, and I think I also have Jay to thank for this. A hadith in Islam. Now, remember, if you haven't studied with us, look at my note
Well, I haven't
under
seen
the notes
this.
menu on Islam and the Bible, the false prophecies that Satan has set up to fool the Muslims of the world. When the prophecies of the Bible come to pass, the prophecies that Satan set up in Islam are an exact duplicate mirror, except the good guys of Islam are the bad guys of the Bible. The Mahdi of Islam is the Antichrist, and the Muslim Jesus is the false prophet. And it's an exact duplicate. It's going to fool when the Bible's prophecies come to pass, Islam is going to think it's theirs. He has fooled them so badly. Same thing with Catholics.
They're trying to make it happen now.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've watched videos where Muslims are saying the Mahdi is here.
Yeah, he's
they're
here.
waiting with universal anticipation. But here's a hadith from Islam, and we know that Satan set all of this up. Mm-hmm. Satan says the same thing. Mm-hmm. The hour will not be established until time passes rapidly, such that a year is like a month like a week like a day like an hour like a flicker of a flame. This is what Satan set up in Islam, which I believe he set it up in Islam to match the fourth trumpet.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could be wrong.
Jay,
you don't have to believe it.
Good job, Jay.
I think it was Jay that sent that to me. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to believe any of this, but this is, it's very compelling, and I really think that it might be true.
Okay, so they said they already have the temple built in Israel on the red.
Well, I've heard that they have the red heifers. Yeah. They have all the blueprints, and they have the temple parts and pieces ready to assemble as soon as they get permission to build it on the Temple Mount. Yeah, they are ready to go. The Temple Institute with the Sanhedrin, they're ready to go. They've got all the priests' materials, all the utensils they need. They're clamoring. They're chomping at the bit to get the temple rebuilt so they can begin doing animal sacrifices again, which is what the Antichrist is going to stop when he takes over.
Yeah, we're waiting for the confirmation of the covenant.
Absolutely.
That Abraham Accord.
So then what's next is the three woes. Now, so we've got the fifth and sixth trumpets that are going to happen. The seventh trumpet, you remember, is where'd it go? The seventh trumpet is the same as the seventh vial, the same as the sixth seal. It's the same event. Now we haven't looked at the fifth, sixth, and seventh seals yet, because those are not in the chronological timeline that we're looking at. These are all the same event. And so we've got the first four seals that very likely have been broken. We've got the first four trumpets that may or may not have already blown. But what we're waiting for now, this is what we're waiting for now. This is next in the chronological timeline, is the sealing of the 144,000 in Revelation 7. We know it comes before the fifth trumpet, because we see that those with the seal of God in their foreheads can't be hurt by the bugs that come out of the pit. So we know that that's going to happen. We don't know for sure when the fifth and sixth trumpets are going to blow, whether it could be before or after the confirmation of the covenant, but it's almost certainly got to be before the Antichrist takes power.
So I have a question. Will we see the sealing of the 144,000?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We won't necessarily see that ourselves.
Okay.
But it's something that happens with God.
144,000. That's a lot, and they're going to be spread out all over the world, right?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, all over the world.
But they are going to be Jews of each tribe And as we're told in Revelation 14, they're Jews, they're Messianic Jews, of course, because it's only the Messianic Jews that are the true Israel. And they're Jews that follow Jesus, that have no guile in their mouths, have not been, they're virgins.
They're pure.
And so these are probably going to be young men that God seals, that love him. And they're the first fruits, remember,
you love to meet
from
one of
Revelation 14. So believe me, we're not jumping, we're not skipping anything in Revelation. We're looking at the chronological timeline. So we're going to go and look at all of these things in great detail. But since it's 8:11, I'm going to stop at this point. And then next week, I'm definitely going to spend less time on the news. And I'm going to spend more time on Revelation, and we'll look at these things in great detail and look at these next events that we're waiting to happen.
Right. Katrina said, I think boils from flesh-eating disease bacteria is part of the seal on plagues, people's skin falling away. And I think that was like the war, right? When the flesh
I know that the 4 horsemen are taught as like this 7-year period of apocalypse and Armageddon, this catastrophic things that happened in the world. And I don't agree with that teaching. I don't believe that there's 2 seals are going to have the same effect of famine. I don't believe that. I don't believe that the seals are actually what most people teach that they are. Now I could be wrong, and those people could be right. Right? I'm going to admit that, because they haven't, unless we've seen them and we know absolutely that that's what it is. We can't say for sure. But I believe that when you pair up Revelation 6:1-8 with Zechariah 6:1-8, you get the true picture. And I would encourage you to go to my website and go to chapter 5 under biblical prophecy and look at the 4 horsemen there. I did a real quick run through last week in our live stream, if you want to watch the end of that at least, and see, I ran through this really, really fast on the seals, the first 4 seals. And there's a little video here on my page, or you can just read the page if you want, and see what I believe is very likely about that.
So doesn't the war say something about the people's skin falling off?
Well, Zechariah, it actually talks about how their flesh will consume from their bones while they're standing on their feet.
That's why I think it's an atomic bomb.
Right. And that's what would happen if you were within the radiation shockwave of a nuclear explosion, is it would just eat the flesh right off your bones in an instant. But since we're talking about this, I read something just recently about new technologies and new weapons that they have, where they actually have this resonance weapon, where it's not an actual explosion. It interrupts the resonance of the earth and our bodies, and it will actually cause the flesh to just fall off your bones. It'll basically just fall apart and just go. And so it would be the same effect that we see in Zechariah 14, and it's this new weapon that they have. It's just absolutely amazing. But that's a whole nother.
Possible, because technology is constantly growing.
I
So
know.
there's new tech. I mean, they've got drones that will just go and drop bombs for you.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, and this weapon is supposed to basically disrupt the resonance of biological life, the planet itself that holds everything together, and it disrupts that, and it comes back together, but it disrupts it so fast that it just destroys everything in the area. It's absolutely mind blowing.
Oh my word! I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think of it either until I read about it.
Oh.
But she's like, oh.
I know. It's
just seems so obvious.
I know.
Yeah.
They would come up with new technology. It's like, It doesn't but I still think it's an atomic bomb, though, because he described this.
Yeah.
Because this isn't something that the whole
never know.
world
I mean,
has either.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and the war in Zechariah is, the timing of that may not coincide with the sixth trumpet, which I believe the sixth trumpet, the killing of a third part of man, is going to be a nuclear exchange at the end of that war.
Quick, and it's going to kill them. Boom.
Yeah. And that will be the end of the war when 2 billion people die. Yeah.
Jay says, I'm willing to believe in new technology too.
Yeah. And that's, you know, there may be things that we just have not seen yet.
Yeah, I know.
That, so
but
we
you
can't
don't know. You just, because it's prophetic. If it doesn't happen, you don't have a fact.
You just wait for it to happen.
Yeah, we haven't had any prophetic word from God about what all this is.
Right.
So we just have to wait and see.
And, you know, that's the thing, is I'll remind everyone that, you know, I will never, ever tell you something's a fact unless it's a fact. And there are things that are factual. There's things about prophecy that we know absolute certainty. And then there's things that we can only speculate on at this point in time. And that's why I always tell you when I'm speculating, because no one can tell you they know for sure. And I'll tell you, I've heard so many people say, well, so-and-so is a prophet, and he said, you know, and I'll go and I'll read up on them and I'll study them out and I'll go and look at their history.
That happened this week, didn't it?
Yeah, just another one just a few days ago, where, you know, and they're making they're saying, you know, God gave me this vision. And then every single time so far, I haven't found one yet that I can't prove to be a false prophet. I go back and I look at what did they say years ago and what happened. And they all have something they prophesied that did not come to pass. What does the Bible say about that?
If one thing is wrong, they're not a prophet.
They are not of God. They're presumptuous, and they are not speaking God's word. And so all of these, you know, what did Jesus say? One of the signs of the last days, the signs that would herald is coming, would be false prophets and false teachers in abundance. And there are so many false prophets out there now. There's so many people claiming God told me this and God told me that. And they're all a bunch of liars. We have to be really careful, because so many people are just absolutely, they're just so deceived by these people.
Yeah.
That's how you know we're in the end times, because that's one of the signs. Yeah. And they're coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah,
I mean,
they are.
I was looking at the news on my work computer, and it said something about this guy arrested for talking about Jesus or something.
That's right. You told me about that.
Now, this didn't happen 3 years ago. This wouldn't have happened 2 years ago.
Well, maybe 2.
And all of a sudden,
certainly not 3.
Christians have become the enemy.
They're not afraid to put things about Christianity on the internet.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's becoming where Christians are the enemy now. The deep state is trying to make Christianity the enemy, just like they've made Jews the enemy, right? They're trying to turn Christians into terrorists. We're the enemy. We're the bad people. Yeah.
But still, even if, you know, there's innocent people living in New York City who are in these little Jewish communities, that they're going in there and they're like being evil to them, and they don't deserve that.
I know. They're just
living their
people.
Lives in New York City, which is the worst place to be. People
are taught to hate them. And it works. There's so many people that are so brainwashed by it. It's astounding.
Yeah.
So, how do you pronounce her name? Or his name? I don't know if it's a him or her.
I don't know. And we apologize. Patrima.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate your comments.
I don't know how to pronounce that. And I understand, because my first name, people don't know how to pronounce it, spell it.
So thanks to everyone for being here. Paul and Johanna, Jay.
Yes, Jay.
Jody, appreciate you.
Yes,
monitoring
Jody, we love
Rumble
Jody.
for us. Guess we didn't have any comments or anything in Rumble, so
no, she would have
that's all
said.
good. So yeah, let's pray real quick,
Yeah,
and then
pray.
We'll say goodbye.
Mhm.
And, yeah.
Yes, you do. We'll have your.
Thank you, Lord, for giving us all the information that you gave us, the signs, the amount of scriptures you gave us that show us the end times and what to expect. We're so grateful, Lord. And we're just waiting patiently for you and doing your work in the meantime. We're looking for more soldiers to fight this battle with us, Lord, and bring them, Lord, for your glory and your honor. In the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. So we already called everybody out. Oh, she said, "Oh, I'm a lady." LOL. Am I New York City melting pot? Yes, everyone is
I've
here.
heard so much about
God bless
New
you.
York. Yeah.
I mean, really, and I am going to shout this out. We need to pray for her. We need to pray for
New
her.
York, yeah.
In New York, we need to pray.
It's bad there.
Jay said, "Thanks for the message, guys. We love you, Jay, and we're really happy that you're here."
Thank you,
Johanna and Paul. Thank you so much for being here. But we need to pray. Jay, Johanna, Paul, Jody, Sissy, me, and Dan will pray for Patrima. If I'm getting that right,
because that's New York
God's
is
protection.
You said melting pot, and I sure understand. I've been reading a lot about how New York's basically been destroyed by immigration. And I say immigration lightly because it's really illegals that are being bussed up there and dropped off, and and they're destroying it just like they've destroyed France, just like they're destroying many parts of the world right now.
It's okay if you come into the country legally the right way.
Yeah, we're all for that.
Yeah, we're
what they're doing now
of legal immigrants. We are a country. I have a daughter-in-law that is an immigrant.
Yeah.
So
her parents moved here from another country legally. Yeah. We're all for that. But what they're doing now is not immigration. It's it's infiltration, and it's a purposeful thing, and we know that.
So I'm definitely going to keep you in our prayers this week. And would you kindly smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, and share the video? Please, please, please share this video. Plan it all over the place. But my sister, she has things she has to say first.
Yeah. So if you guys are interested in seeing Dan's website, go to BibleProphecyandTruth.com, all one word. If you have any questions for Dan, you can go to prophecyandtruth@gmail.com. You can also see us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/prophecyandtruth or rumble.com/BibleProphecy. Bam!
She reminded me of the Rain Man.
Bam! Can you see it?
She's so silly. We can see it.
You gotta look.
You better have it memorized. Next time I'm gonna ask you to say it without looking at the card.
I can.
Sissy, have a great week. I love you so much. And I love everybody in chat, everybody who's watching later.
Thank you, Diane, for being here with us.
Yes, thank you so much. Love you, Jody, so much. And Sissy, what were we gonna say? Hurry up.
Oh no.
Just say it one more time.
So stupid.
No, it's not stupid. I need routine now. I'm different.
Okay, I'll be really quiet. At least no one can hear me.
Okay.
Don't forget, same bat time, same bat place, same bat channel. Turn on our channel, everybody.
See you Wednesday.
Bye.